Hey everybody, thanks for joining us today in this episode of Masters of the Market. As you know, with this series, what we're doing is finding absolute experts in their field and bringing them to you so you can see what it's like behind the scenes and the awareness of the market from which each expert looks at it, because everybody's going to have a different view and different taste and different understanding, but you want to know the people in the market that are conquering their specific niche. So today I had an easy to line up interview, which happened to be my business partner, Jason Balin. Hey Jay, how you doing?
What's up?
Hey, so Jason comes from an interesting background in this business, and I'm going to let him get into that in a bit. But I would say, and not just because he's my business partner, but Jason is probably the best underwriter, at least on the East Coast that we're aware of. I mean, sheer pure underwriter from an asset basis with hard money lending. Jason's my partner at Hard Money Bankers, and they run an amazing office. They make it seem effortless, as most clients will tell you that it's people can't believe how easy it is to work with them. And but Jason's real forte and real specialty is understanding the pulse of the market from every investor's angle, underwriting deals, and making sure that everybody's in a position of protection to make sure that everybody gets out making money. And that's really what he does day in and day out. So I guess my first question to you, Jay, is can you give everybody a little bit of background on how you got into this business and what kind of put you into the hard money world? How did that come about, and what's the timeline on that?
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting thing. Well, first, Ian, thanks for setting up this video.
Sure.
Always a good spot. So in about 2001, I was working for a finance company, mortgage broker. I didn't love the mortgage broker type of business, mortgage banking, mortgage broker type of business. But I'll never forget the one time when we were going to do a deal, and the deal just didn't work out for one reason or the other. And the guy that owned the company came to me and said, "Well, we could just." He was like, "Let me take a look at this deal a little bit clearer or in more detail." And it was a collateral-based deal. He said, "Hey, we're not going to be able to fund this with a traditional lender, but what we could do is I'll just put up the money and I'll fund it myself." I'm like, "Well, how the heck does that work?" And that's kind of where private lending started. He is the bank, right? He's putting up the money, he's making the rules, he's determining if it's a good deal or it's a bad deal. And it was pretty interesting. So never really thought too much of that kind of at the time. And then we just, like a lot of real estate investors that spin into their certain concentration, we're flipping houses, buying some rental properties, and doing mortgage finance stuff at the same time. And we really, really liked the real estate side, the creative real estate side. Didn't really love flipping houses. It was just hard. It wasn't something I was really passionate about, but I love the finance side. But when we started a company, we didn't want to necessarily start a mortgage banking company, a brokerage company. We wanted to be more involved in it. We wanted to have the creative element of structuring loans. We wanted the flexibility of not just owning your own company, but at the same time being involved in the deal. And as you know, with the hard money lending or the private company, your job just starts when you fund that deal day one. Yes, we charge points, and yes, we make money on the front end, but that loan is not matured until it's matured and paid off. You're not just selling it on the secondary market like a normal finance or mortgage company. I mean, you are servicing that loan throughout the entire time. So I guess between a few different things, obviously the financial element of it, of the money that was made, the predictability of the money that was made was very intriguing to me. The creativity of structuring deals is very big for me, important for me. But probably most importantly, I don't really deal with consumer to consumer sales. Or business to consumer sales. I'm dealing with business to business sales. Our clients, as you know, are sophisticated real estate investors and business entities, and that's who we're dealing with on a regular basis.
Sure. So that's how you got into the market. That's kind of what put you into the hard money world. So being a hard money lender, you're constantly evaluating flips. You're looking at construction financing. Construction loans, acquisition financing, and so forth. So you're really understanding investors of all different realms, right? Because you work with guys that are brand new, and you work with guys that flip 100, 200 deals a year. So everybody's business is a little different, and you somehow in between have to get a pulse on what they're doing, what they're capable of, and where the market is at that moment. So explain to me, what the market looked like to you guys or to us or whatever in 2008, 2009, where it's come till now, and where it's going or where you see it going.
Yes, I mean the market's obviously just like any type of financial market. There's cycles and they go up and down. We didn't really intend for this to happen to start at the bottom, but that's just kind of what happened. I don't know if that was subconscious
Back in
or
08,
not, but
07.
in 08, we're at the market. So the good and the bad. The good is hopefully, and whoever knows when you're at the bottom of the market, whoever knows when you're at the top of the market, but hindsight, we were at the bottom of the market. The good of that is there's nothing besides going up, right? You're at the bottom. There's only room for improvement. The bad was we were in our 20s and we had to go raise a ton of private capital and deploy that private capital in an industry that had just failed, or an industry that everyone
Sure.
thought was completely a disaster.
You're fighting the current, yeah.
Exactly. So again, we didn't know any different when you start, right? You learn as you kind of go along. But the market was very different then, and I do believe that over the years, there's probably been, I don't know if there's been, there's probably opportunities that a lot of people have been involved in that the market has helped. The market has saved them. I mean, there's certainly properties that we lent on, let's say a 130 loan amount that we thought was worth 200, and the borrower ended up selling it at 220 or 230. That was probably because the market appreciated over that time. Not a sustainable business model, not something you can always count on, but that's just one of the instances that we've seen, and that helped kind of predict what the market was doing. We've overdoing, I don't know, 1,300 loans over the last 10 years. We've seen a lot of deals, and we've looked at it a lot, and we understand the areas very, very well, so we kind of see market trends. And if you ever hear me tell stories to real estate investors, I always like, hey, well, 5 years ago we used to lend in this neighborhood at this price, and now we're lending at this price, and then we did this. So, I mean, it's a sign that certain areas have changed.
So it's your job to keep your finger on that pulse. I mean, really, that's what you're very good at. So, okay, so where are we now and where are we going?
I think we're at the top. I think
Okay.
we're at the top, but I also believe that there's no major bust that will occur, because I think hindsight again, when we were at the top then, a lot of that inflation was because it was very, very easy to get capital from banks and other institutions. Borrowers with bad credit that had stated income could just get a loan, and you could take out, if you were flipping a house, a retail investor, you could just take them out. That doesn't exist anymore, I don't think. At least we don't see it in our market. I mean, there's money available if you're a qualified homeowner, or if you're a qualified borrower, you can get bank money. But if you're not qualified, and if you can't show income, and if you don't have good credit, it's still hard to get money. So
Sure.
even and rates are probably a little bit more expensive as well. So, or they're creeping up a little bit. So I think there's certainly signs that we're at the top, and hopefully, if something kind of drastically falls apart, it's not a huge swing. I think there will be a swing, but I don't think it's going to be an absolute huge swing, just because there's no one's giving away money. I mean, it's still hard to get a bank loan. It really is.
Sure. I mean, I guess, if you're gonna have a dip, which is natural in the cycle, you want a dip to be a little bit slower and more predictable, almost like the rise, right? So if you have 2008 where it's overnight, you blink and all of a sudden you can't sell it fast enough. That's not what you want if you're going to have a dip, right? So we're going to have a dip, and you're saying it's going to be more of a stagnant, stale move as opposed to a crash and burn type move.
Hopefully, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm hopeful of that. I never know.
None of us know, right?
There could be something from left field that just pops in there that no one's predicting, but I'm hoping that's the case. I mean, I've always kind of said I wish real estate was like this, slow and steady, instead of big booms and big busts. I mean, don't get me wrong, booms and busts are good. When stuff starts here, you start gobbling up stuff, and then it's worth here. There's great things about that. But if you're going to be like this and like this and like this, like my path that I've always liked is just, let's take this path all the way to top, slow and steady.
Right, predictability is something to be said about it. So. Okay, interesting. So let me ask this: if you were new to the game or experienced, is there anything you could say about the market right now and how people that are flipping, let's call it, because that's most of your clients, right? Flippers come in and they need money for quick closings. What can they do? What should they be doing? Is there anything you'd say like, hey, if we're in this kind of market, you should really be attentive to this to protect yourself or to make money?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's two big key things that their deals fall apart, or they either lose money or something happens that they weren't planning on, is they overvalue what they think the property is going to be worth. They emotionally say, hey, XYZ sold this property for $230, mine's going to be nicer than that, I'm going to sell mine for $240. Well, first off, don't ever plan on selling it more than the next person. And second off, if you're a first-time investor, you're not selling for top dollars. It's not going to happen. You don't know what improvements to put in that property. You don't know what the layout is. You're not getting your stuff cheaper as cheap as some of these other people. So you need to dial back kind of your expectations. So properly valuing a property based on what you're planning to do for it and what your capabilities are.
Okay.
Is a big thing, and also making sure you're managing construction appropriately. I mean, construction makes or breaks these transactions, and there's so many borrowers and so many real estate investors, even the ones that are veteran that know this game, that go over construction budget. Obviously, there's things that you can prevent that by, how anal or how involved you are with the process. Also, based on what type of properties you're flipping. There's a lot of different neighborhoods that have very older style homes, and they're just so unpredictable that even if you've done 100 in that area, they're still unpredictable. What's going to come up when you rip back the layers? So
Sure.
those are things to pay a lot of attention to. And then at the end of the game, end of the day, this all comes back to how well you can execute. How well you can execute, stay on budget, stay on track. Because if you go over your construction budget, chances are you're going over your timeline. Chances are your financing costs are up. Potentially, if you're into the deal a lot more longer, you overlap into a different market. Maybe you're not in the spring market anymore, or maybe you're overlapping. So the execution and sticking to a timeline and being able to really, really follow through and get the deal done the right way is probably the most important thing.
So, in summary, be able to execute, right? That's a key. That's a key. That's a buzzword. It's a good one. And be honest with yourself and the numbers in front. Be honest with yourself and the market. If you can do those things correctly,
yeah,
you'd be in good shape. Which is hard. Which is hard to do for anybody.
It's really hard. I mean, I've seen two of the exact same scenario deals. One guy executed, made a fortune. Another guy couldn't execute it, and he lost money on the exact same deal, the same buy, the same construction cost, the same. You put that exact same house in the same place, and that's reality. And it's hard. I mean, flipping's hard. There's no magic button. There's no make money overnight. Stop following, all these make money overnight types of strategies. You're going to see a lot of that right now. Real estate's a big buzzword. Hey, real estate's hot right now.
HGTV,
we're telling you on this video from experience that we're at the top or close to the top. So real estate's hot. Go buy. I'm not saying you can't buy in a market like this. You absolutely can. But that being
said, buy right.
Make sure you buy right. You can't just go buy anything. You will lose your shirt.
So, real quick, Jay, tell me how hard money bankers, and I know, obviously, I'm asking this, but I want for everybody else out there, if you're coming to get capital, right? Why is hard money bankers different, better to use, easier to use? What's the deal? Like, why are we using Jay, hard money bankers and calling Jay or Ian or whatever? What do you see down there? Why do your people use you?
Yeah, I mean, pretty simple. I mean, we're localized experts that can help with your real estate transactions. Super, super, super simple. Everyone's got access to capital, right? Capital is capital. There's not a huge difference in costs. If you go to a bank, you're going to get cheaper costs, right? That's right. What it is. You go to a bank, or you go anyone who's got some bank leverage, if you want to go through the red tape, if you want to show financials, if you have 30, 45 days to do your project, and cost is the most important, if you know exactly what you're doing and cost is the most important thing for you, go to a bank. It's a fine solution. And we do have borrowers that go to banks, but at the same time they use us for their projects as well, because number one, they want someone else to you look over their shoulder, make sure they're making the right investment decision. They go to us because we do have capital at an affordable price. Right? It's not a gouging. I mean, hard money works great if you go back to the term execution. If you need that money for 12 or more months, that deal does not work, right? The capital is just too expensive, and you don't really know what you're doing. But if you legitimately need money for 4, 5, 6 months for a good solid flip, it's going to cost you 10% all in for the capital, $10,000 for every $100,000. It's a small price to pay to get a lot of the money given to you, plus for the most part getting some sort of partner to help you with questions along the way. We're not holding your hand, we're not picking out contractors for you, but we're a good capital partner to help along the way. Real life people with offices that are in your shoes, that know a lot of investors, can help with vendors and kind of support you along the way.
Speaking of offices, you guys, I've always said this. I love your office. I love the HMB Maryland office. Okay, yeah, give it a little bit of. There's a ping pong table over there. I'm pretty sure I've lost plenty of matches on that.
It doesn't get used anymore.
Oh, really? The putting green over there. We got the video over there. I mean, it's a cool office. So if anybody's ever down in the Maryland area, especially our clients, just stop in and bother these guys. It's a fun office.
It's good for company culture. I mean, it makes staff happy to come to work. We do see a lot of our borrowers in-house. I mean, borrowers come in, they drop off monthly payments. They come just to pick our brains related to ideas. We used to do meetup groups and mastermind groups in here. We've expanded to larger locations, but it's kind of just a good company culture, and it's it's an inexpensive price to pay just for a little additional square feet.
I love it. It's a fun little. It's the baby mini micro Google is what we call it. So
Micro.
micro is a good word. So Jay, how do I get in touch with Jason Balin? How do we get in touch with Hard Money Bankers?
At any time, reach out, hardmoneybankers.com.
Okay.
You can learn a little bit about us. If you want to pick up the phone, it's 800-883-8290. Or if you have a specific question related to a deal or a market trend or anything like that, shoot me an email at jason@hardmoneybankers.com.
Jason@hardmoneybankers.com. Easy enough, very accessible. I know I talk and email you every day, so I'm pretty aware of the resource there. So everybody, I appreciate everybody watching this. As you know, it's Masters of the Market. We've narrowed down somebody who's a master of capital, or deploying capital on the streets in your local markets. We're all over the place. And Jason, I appreciate your time, and hopefully everybody gets something out of this, can take away from it, and contacts Hard Money Bankers in the future. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. Thank you.
All right.